Believe it or not, the NFL season is already halfway over, and some teams are extremely pleased with their first round picks, while others are having second guesses. And I think we know why we're all here for today's video. We are grading the 2023 NFL Draft midway through their rookie year. Today's video will be picks 1 through 16, and there will be a video later this month grading picks 17 through 32. And we will be going in reverse order from 16 to 1, so we will start with Commanders corner Emanuel Forbes and finish with Panthers quarterback Bryce Young. And before we get started, I want to take a second to tell you about Game Blazers, which is today's sponsor. If you don't already know, Game Blazers is the online game that combines fantasy sports with video game mechanics. It's free to play with an entire XP leveling system that lets you earn more items to play with. And you earn XP by doing well in contests and winning mini-games. Just like normal fantasy football, you draft your own salary cap teams each week, but unlike traditional fantasy, you draft your team from the player items you get from item packs. I love being able to use the same players in my contest lineup week after week, especially when they're playing well, and when guys are not performing well, it's easy to sub them out from new item packs. On Game Blazers, you can enter as many contests as you want to each week. Right now, I have a special free contest going on just for you guys to see if you can earn more points than my team. And this week, Game Blazers has a free-to-enter $1,500 prize pool contest happening, so be sure to enter that too. To sign up and compete against me, click the link in the description or the pinned comment below. And a big thank you to Game Blazers for supporting the channel. And we are starting today's video with Commanders corner Emanuel Forbes. Forbes was a controversial pick because there were other cornerback prospects that were available at the time of this selection that were deemed to be better prospects than Forbes. And when you make a selection like this, you better be right. And through the first half of his rookie year, the Commanders were, well, very wrong. Forbes has played 7 games in 2023 and has started just 2 of them, and is credited with allowing 22 receptions for 446 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns on just 30 targets. He's allowing an opposing quarterback passer rating of 134.7 when being targeted, which is much higher than an MVP's passer rating over the course of a season. Against Philly in week 4 alone, he allowed 9 receptions for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns, and there has not been a lot of positives from Emanuel so far, and as of now, this grade gets an F. Will McDonald was the Jets' first-round pick at number 15 overall, and Will is in a fortunate situation because there's a lot of good pass rushers on this team. Unfortunately for Will, that means he hasn't had a lot of opportunities yet, and through the 6 games he's played, he has only played 66 total snaps. He currently has 2 tackles on the year and only has 1 pressure, and the most amount of snaps he's taken in one game is 17, which was against the Broncos. Unlike Forbes, this isn't a case of a guy who is getting beat time after time after time by offensive tackles. This is a guy who hasn't seen the field, which will only increase with time. Robert Saleh didn't agree to take him in the first round to be a career rotational rusher, even as stacked as the Jets' pass rush is. For now, the McDonald grade is incomplete. Steelers left tackle Barri Jones is another tricky player to grade because he only has 1 start through the team's first 7 games, but he did look good in that start against the Ravens. He allowed a single pressure on 38 pass blocking snaps and has allowed 4 pressures on 74 total pass blocking snaps so far. In his limited time, he has not allowed a sack, and I think it would be wise for the Steelers to move to Broderick as their full-time starter. We've seen what Keanu Benton can do when given the opportunity, and I would like to see what Broderick can do when he is given the opportunity. I like Jones a lot coming out of Georgia this past year, and he was my 3rd highest offensive lineman behind Paris Johnson and Peter Skoronski. If we were grading off of the Ravens game alone, I would give this a B+, but because Broderick has only played 126 total snaps through 7 games, I am fine giving this an incomplete grade. However, when we do grades after a full season in February, I think this grade will change. Lucas Van Ness from Iowa was the Packers' first-round pick, and there's a little more to this pick than giving it a letter grade and moving on. The Packers roster at the moment is not very good, and they have a ton of young players who are figuring it out at the NFL level, with Van Ness being one of them. And it's really weird because when Lucas is on the field, he has made plays when given the opportunity. Sure, he's not Jaylen Carter or Will Anderson in terms of the impact, but to not play him in at least 50% of the snaps in any game so far is beyond me. I know Packers fans fans will scream about DC Joe Barry getting fired, but Lucas had 5 pressures in Week 1 over the Bears and has not recorded a pressure since. He had a TFL against Atlanta and has a few tackles here and there, but he largely has not been given an opportunity. If we were rating this and how he's played in the 170 snaps he's logged, it would be in the C+ area, but give the 22-year-old rookie a chance to get in the swing of things, and I think this grade has to be incomplete for the time being. Jibreel Gibbs of the Lions is up, and this may sound crazy, but it's shocking when a running back drafted 12th overall is given opportunities and he makes plays. He is coming off of a 26-carry, 152-yard rushing performance against the Raiders, and Gibbs, despite the slow start, which was not his fault, will be just fine. With how many weapons the Lions have on offense, he's not going to be your typical 280 or 300 carry back per year, and it's never going to be that way with Amon-Ra or Sam Laporta or J-Mo if he develops into the player he can be. I am a Vikings fan and I hated this pick when it was made, not because of the running back this high part, but because my team would have to go against him twice a year for presumably the next half decade, minimum by the way. He's 21 years old and the sky is the limit, and Ben Johnson will gradually incorporate Gibbs more and more into the offense as time goes by. For now, this is a B+. Next up is Peter Skoronski of the Titans, and when you draft an interior offensive lineman in the first round, it's always going to be labeled as a pick that's not sexy, but it's a pick that's needed. And in Skoronski's case, this is exactly what it's been. He missed a few games between weeks 2 through 4, but has bounced back nicely, and is currently the second highest graded rookie in pass blocking, only behind Cleveland's Devon Jones. Peter has allowed a singular sack in 152 pass blocking snaps, which was in his NFL debut, and has gradually improved in the games he's played. He's logged 248 snaps and will be getting a grade, and as of week 9, he was one of just 22 offensive linemen to play 200 plus snaps and not record a penalty. He's only 22 years old, and if he's already this good as a rookie, and at a position that generally takes longer to develop, I think the Titans will more than hit on this pick, a B+ grade. Darnell Wright is up for the Bears, and the right tackle has played solid for the Bears, all things considered. When you think of a situation for success in football, not just for right tackles, but for quarterbacks, you think of Joe Burrow having 3 good options to throw to, and we bring this up because Darnell is not in a great situation to succeed. He has allowed the 11th most pressures in the NFL and given up the 3rd most sacks, but it's not entirely on him. Justin Fields holds the ball quite a bit and has the highest average time to throw in the NFL. Not the 4th highest, but the highest. And when your quarterback does not help you out as a pass protector, your numbers naturally are going to look bad. I used clips of Wright looking good here, and he has been a good player so far for the Bears, all things considered. A B- grade. The Philadelphia Eagles traded up from pick 10 to pick 9 to get Jaylen Carter, and in a lot of ways, this was the league's worst nightmare. Philly was already stacked on the defensive line and selected Carter's teammate from Georgia, Jordan Davis, just 1 year earlier. Carter was a can't-miss prospect from a football standpoint, and he has played like that through the first 7 games. He is second amongst rookies in pressures with 28 to Byron Young of the Rams' 29, though Young is credited with 63 more pass rushing snaps, so from a percentage standpoint, Carter is the best pass rusher from the 2023 draft class. He is only 22 years old and has 3.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in 7 games. This was yet another Howie Roseman masterclass, and barring injuries, Carter will be there for a long time, and he will be a multiple-time Pro Bowler again, assuming he stays healthy. I know some people may not feel this way, but I am comfortable giving this the rare A+ grade. Bijan Robinson, like Jaylen Carter, was a can't-miss prospect at his position, but like we've seen with former Falcons first-round picks in Kyle Pitts and Drake London, they're not using Bijan anywhere close to the level I thought they would. He has just 1 game over 15 carries and has just 1 rushing touchdown on the year. This also isn't to say he's been ineffective or has been a bad player, because he hasn't, but I simply thought they would use him more than they are. The 1 game against Tampa where Bijan was sick is naturally going to bring his production down from an average standpoint, but I love Bijan and think he can be a top 2 or 3 back in this league. I am disappointed with how the Falcons are using him, but that's more of a gripe with coaching than it is with Bijan as a player. And what's crazy about this is Bijan is still top 10 in rushing yards at the moment. I really think Bijan is an A+ talent, and I think he should get the football more, but as of now, this grade is a B+. Tyrie Wilson of the Raiders is up, and this is not going to be fun for Raiders fans. In 8 games played, Tyrie has just 6 pressures and has a singular sack. He has just 13 tackles and has not been anywhere close to the player they thought he would be when they were on the clock at number 7 overall. This is pretty unfortunate because he's in a great situation having Max Crosby on the other side to deflect a lot of the opposing offensive line's game plan and ultimately where their focus will be. The big thing to remember with Tyrie was he was always going to be a project. Now, you can make the argument a project should not have been taken at number 7 overall, and I would agree with that, but that's a different discussion. He is tied for 19th in pressures amongst rookies and has a singular pressure more than the number 5 overall pick, corner, yes, corner, Devon Withersspoon of the Seahawks. He has been a non-factor in 7 of the 8 games he's played and has a pass rush win rate of just 4.2%, an F grade. The Cardinals traded back from pick 3 to pick 12 with the Texans, then traded back up to pick 6 to get right tackle Paris Johnson Jr. And this is a player I've been paying close attention to because he was a right guard for Ohio State in 2021, a left tackle in 2022, only to be a right tackle for the Cardinals in 2023. Johnson has allowed 20 pressures in 8 games while allowing just 2 sacks, and the 20 pressures may sound like a lot, but that ranks 25th in the NFL amongst all linemen, and he is tied with Jordan Mailata of the Eagles. And for Paris specifically, he had one bad game where he allowed 7 pressures, which was against the Rams, and a guy by the name of Aaron Donald got him a few times. So believe it or not, I'm not going to hold a singular bad game against Paris in which a future first ballot Hall of Famer beat a 22-year-old rookie. I mean, Aaron's been doing this for a long time, and I do think Paris will improve as the year goes on as he gets more accustomed to the NFL, and for now this grade is a B. Devon Withersspoon, the feisty corner from Illinois, went number 5 to Seattle, and Withersspoon was a very fun prospect in the draft process. And there's usually a transition period for corners, and you would think there would be one in Devon's case, as going up against receivers from Northwestern, Purdue, and Minnesota are not exactly the same as playing Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamar Chase in 2 of your first 4 NFL games. Devon has an opposing quarterback rating of just 53.2 in being targeted, which is, well, insane, and there was a point in time where he had the highest defensive grade amongst all corners. It is now 3rd, but the energy Withersspoon plays with is contagious, and Seahawks fans will be the first to let you know how good the duo of Spoon and Reek are. There's a chance this duo is together for a long time, but because Withersspoon is the 3rd highest corner and not the 1st, we're going to have to bump this down to a B+, and I'm kidding, Devon is a stud, and this grade is an A+. Anthony Richardson, the athletic quarterback from Florida, was the number 4 pick and the 3rd quarterback taken in the 2023 draft. Unfortunately, Richardson's season is already over, but in the time he played, he was a problem for opposing defenses. The passing numbers are never going to be Richardson's strong suit due to his rushing ability, not because he simply can't throw the football, but that's okay. In the 4 games he played, he had 7 total touchdowns and was 2-2 as a starter. It's unfortunate he is already done for the season, but I do believe this is in the best interest of the Colts moving forward. I would have liked to see AR get the rookie mistakes out during his rookie season, but he will come back next year at just 22 years old, and hopefully the Colts take a receiver in the first 2 rounds next year to have a good trio for their young quarterback. Had he played, I think he would have been in the B range, but for now it is incomplete. There was a lot of hype around Will Anderson Jr. all throughout the pre-draft process, and there was a lot of conversation in the 2022 draft process. Had he been eligible, who would have been selected first? Ultimately, he became the number 3 pick in the 2023 NFL draft, and he has been a very good player for the Texans so far. He is 3rd amongst rookies in pressures behind the aforementioned Young and Carter with 25, and he has an impressive pass rush win rate of 18.1%. Although Will only has 1 sack on the year, there is reason to believe those numbers will improve as time goes on. There was also concern about his run defense as a prospect because he is lighter, but he's held up through the first 8 games of his career. I like Anderson a lot, and for now this grade is an A-. He is doing everything right, and I think those sack numbers will come, and it's only a matter of time. Coleridge Bernard Stroud IV was the 2nd overall pick, and after the first 4 games of his career, CJ looked like he was on the cusp of being a generational rookie quarterback. He had 6 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, had a passer rating of over 100, and at a point was top 5 in passing yards. But I wouldn't put the last few weeks on CJ specifically, and I think it's more from a play calling standpoint. Play callers go through slumps too, and I like Bobby Slowick a lot, but there's always going to be things to iron out offensively, and I think that's what the past few weeks have been. CJ has thrown for exactly 1,800 yards on the year, along with 9 touchdowns to 1 interception, and I really can't wait to see what he does in the second half of the season. His supporting cast isn't great, but he's making it work. This is the grade I debated with the most in today's video because I don't like tossing out A+ grades, especially for quarterbacks, but CJ has been everything the Texans have wanted and more, an A+ grade. Bryce Young from Alabama is up, and like with CJ, his supporting cast has not been great, but Bryce has turned it around the past few weeks after what was an ugly first few games. Not to say he's completely figured it out, of course, but the Panthers look like they're out of complete danger. The important thing to remember is it's going to take some time for Bryce to develop, and it's also going to take some time for the Panthers to acquire legitimate weapons for him to throw the ball to. I think it's fair to say Bryce has one of the worst supporting casts in all of football, and when you combine that with a guy whose game is based on a lot of timing and winning the game mentally, versus being a 6'4", 240-pound freak like Anthony Richardson, well, Bryce is not going to look good early. And that's what we saw, and half a year in, we're getting through the rough patches. It certainly hasn't been a straight path to the top, but I like Bryce's game a lot, and I really think he'll get there, a B grade. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as only about 26% of people watching are subscribed, and your subscription means the world. Until next time, please be safe, and have a great day. Love you guys.